Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Hammers Football TV. I hope everyone's keeping well and had a decent weekend. Yeah, it's been a while, but thought I'd do a quick little thing here. Obviously, as Potter's already gone and Nuno coming in, we've seen some things come about, and I've got to thank the Athletic for kind of putting this information out there, and you're just kind of literally going on. But before we start, as always, if you don't mind, can you hit that button, share, and if you can, subscribe? It does go out immensely, so thank you much for doing that. As you know, I have been away for a while, but been coming back into things. Also, just to make you aware, I have changed job, so I will be kind of doing shift work now. So there's times when I'm not going to be here, but it'll all be put out there on YouTube, so you know exactly where we are. So let's start off with it. As we know, Potter gave his press conference on Friday, and it seemed as normal. I mean, the protest went very well. It seemed to have some effect, which was great to see. It was very kind of hospitable. There was no kind of anger or to each other, but obviously to the board, that was a different thing. But yeah, press talk obviously talks about him and the memes showing him with various body styles, and he tried to laugh it off as he normally does. But that was really it. Things started to change because it seemed that the first team came for training at Rush Green around about 9:30. Potter apparently got there a little bit because he was preparing for the game for Everton. But then it seemed to be strange because he was in and out of his room. Apparently, it was something that he doesn't normally do. So the players got a little bit perplexed what was going on here and that. And then, of course, he came out and said to him that he's been relieved of his duties, and he's and apparently the squad were no doubt this news, especially given the timing of the decision, which I think everyone can agree, and typical of this board, and obviously unfortunately of our club. You give a man a Friday press talk, and then on Saturday you sack him when we've had all week to kind of get it out of the way and done with. Especially about the contenders that was going to be coming in. Obviously, Nuno was one of those. We was hearing probably Marco Silva, Slaven Bilic coming back, and even talks of Scotty Parker at some point. It was down to club secretary Andrew Pincher. He came there and he kind of reassured them and said that someone will be coming to overtake training at 12:30, and of course this turned out itself. We are where they are, but there was some interesting news that came out about Potter, and it was all about how he was, and I think it kind of, if you cross the I's and dot the T's, and it kind of makes a little bit of sense. So apparently he had concerns over Bowen's captaincy. Let me know what you think about that, people, because obviously I was one that was. I didn't think Bowen should have been made captain. For me, he should have kept him being the player. At the time, he didn't suit him. You could see that, but he grew into it. Potter didn't think he was the right fit to be captain, even though he's our kind of main player. Apparently, he wasn't the right candidate for the armband, so there was one concern right away. Then it comes down to Todibo. And I think most of us have got our kind of reservations about this player. For me, I don't know if you feel the same. Fitness is not one of them. And apparently he frustrated Potter so much because he was inconsistency in his poor timekeeping. Obviously, the Spurs game, he dropped him for being late. And then on September the 11th, he apparently performed quite bad in a training session. And he got called into the Potter's office, and from that point there, he obviously got a ticking off. But this just shows you, and this may be where the cracks were starting here with Potter. Todibo turned up late the next day. So that kind of tells you something right there that this player or players, faith in this manager. Again, another thing. Then there's the Emerson situation. As we know, Emerson lost his place last season, and when he did come back for pre-season, he was quite unfit, and he also apparently turned up late for training a couple of times. Not often, but a couple of times. He got dropped to the under-21s, and as we know from there, he then left on the transfer deadline day to Marseille for stupid money, really. And it was a shame because I did like Emerson. I thought he was a great player for us. Then he comes down to the dressing room. So apparently, Mikel Antonio, when he was there, he ran the fine system, and he also got the players together. He did bonding sessions. He got the rapport going. And again, once he left, Cresswell and Kufo had gone. Basically, there was no one really to fill that void. There was no kind of leader, and after defeats, the dressing room was that quiet. The only person that was speaking was Potter, and as we've seen in quite most of the games, the Potter led. They weren't exactly convincing because obviously we see the results. And he had some other clashes as well. Alvarez, apparently, this goes back way in April. Didn't realise it was that far back, but it goes back in April, where them two fell out. Of course, it led to Alvarez being loaned out to Fenerbahce, and apparently Potter didn't like the fact that Nicholas Füllkrug, quite publicly after that Southampton draw that we had, told people how things were about West Ham. That angered Potter because obviously straight away then what you're doing, you're undermining your manager. So that was that. Let me know about them. What you think about those kind of issues. Do you feel they were a few of the things that caused the problem, or do you think it was a case it was too ingrained and it wasn't going to change at this point? Let us know, please, in the comments. It'd be greatly appreciated. Obviously, Potter going. He's, the assistant coach Bruno Saltos has also gone. First team coach Billy Reid, and this one I couldn't wait to get rid of, really, because I thought he was useless. Narcis Palach apparently was our so-called set piece coach. He has made a little statement and thanks the fans for all the time and hope there's all the best, etc., etc. But doesn't excuse how poor the set pieces were. They've also gone with lead goalkeeping coach Kasper Angergren and Linus Kangolin as well. So they're all gone. So hopefully Nuno's going to bring his team in, and then we're going to see something going on. Colin McCauley's still here at the moment. How long for is another thing. I mean, at the end of the day, I was reading something a couple of days back, and it was quite interesting to say. Even though we started got some fairly okay players in, it seems to be, and here's one. I think it was one of the newspapers said that with Sullivan in charge, we did better business. So McCauley, I don't think he's going to be with the Hammers very long anyway. So we've got a new man in charge. Yeah, Nuno Espirito Santo. 18 days he was out of the job from the Forest, and it seemed more than likely he was going to be, coming to West Ham. And he's given his recent interview. He's vowed to build strong relationships and bonds with the West Ham family, which is nice to see. And I think I don't know what you people think. Watching some of the photos and the videos of his first training session, the first thing I could see from him was that big cheesy grin on his face, and that in itself shows you kettle and black between him and Potter. Because I think there's more, just in that session alone, there's more engagement from the manager with the players. You see him having a talk with Jared Bowen as well. There's a bit when I think he's looking at the youth in amazement, and there's other points where he's kind of saying as it is. There's one particular picture, I don't know if you've seen it. It looks like Sullivan's standing in the background watching him, but that's another thing. He's the man who brought him in, and he's here on a 3-year deal. He's also spoke of his pride and happiness at the appointment, and obviously his initial responsibility, first of all, was to get to know the squad and get ready for the game tonight, which obviously is Everton. which I do believe is live on TV as well. What was good to hear was state the importance of delivering to us, the supporters, the local community, because apparently he does really good things with the local community. And I don't know, and I wasn't really looking it up if Potter does exactly the same, but fair play to him if he's going to be like that. Because again, it shows you that he's investing into the club, the supporters, the ethics, which are, again, ticks another box. Let us know what your thoughts about that, because I know he's not everyone's choice. They'd rather see other managers in, but he's here, isn't he, folks? Well, we know, and there's not much we can do. But at this point, let's get behind him. Let's see what he can do tonight. He's not exactly had a great record against David Moyes, but all we've got to do is get behind him, and that's all I say from there. And by all accounts, some positive news for some people out there. James Ward-Prowse has not gone on. He was on the coach. He's not in the squad by all accounts. But before I sign off, in the comments, let us know what you think his team could be and what tactics he would have against tonight. Can he get one over on David Moyes, being under a new club, etc. All I say at this point, last but not least, don't forget, hit the like button, share and subscribe. But more importantly, come on, you Irons.